Welcome to SOS for Your Life, Emergency Wisdom for Everyday Life. I'm your host, Susie St. Angelo, and thanks for being here today. Today's episode is called Personal Cybersecurity and AI, What You Should Know. When we talk about health, most of us immediately think about diet and exercise. But the more I've been exploring this, especially through this podcast, I'm realizing that health is so much bigger than that. In fact, it's also our environment, our stress, and it's about feeling safe, physically, emotionally, and now even digitally. And so I'm excited for today's guest. His name is JP Patterson, and with a background spanning technical sales, managed services, and enterprise consulting, JP has worked with organizations of all sizes to improve operational efficiency, strengthen cybersecurity posture, and unlock new revenue streams. You know, this podcast is for you if you know you want to change something. Maybe it's a career, your health, or another aspect of your life. You might wonder if this is the right stage or right age in life to make this change, and you don't know how to start. Or maybe you're that person caught in analysis paralysis. I see you, I understand, I used to feel the same way. But you can get something out of each episode that you watch or listen to. There's just always a little nugget of information that can help you make a difference, taking one small step at a time. So keep watching or keep listening, and I know you'll find something. You can find this podcast on Spotify, YouTube, iHeart, Apple, and Amazon platforms. And remember to like, share, and subscribe. Now let's get into today's conversation and meet my guest, JP Patterson. Hi, JP. How are you?
I'm doing great, Susie. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Thank you for being on SOS for Your Life, Emergency Wisdom for Everyday Life. I'm excited to talk to you more about AI and cybersecurity. I think it's a very important topic these days. But first, I wanted to ask you a question about your background and how you got into doing what you do.
Sure. So I've been in IT and tech, honestly, since I was 11, which is kind of weird. My mom was a medical technologist for 17 years, realized that did not pay enough to pay for her child for college, so she went back to school, became an engineer, and I lived on campus from age 10 till 14 and got into all the computers and old school stuff with floppy disk and punch cards and all that fun thing. And one of the professors saw my friend and I goofing around and told us, you know, you're hacking right now, right? Like, no, we're just trying to break into this game so we can play it easier. And from there, he wound up having us be teacher's assistants at 11 years old for Tennessee Tech for 2 of their basic programming classes. And it just took off from there. Eventually became a developer. That's what I went to school for. And then realized I didn't want to be in front of a computer every day. So I moved into sales. And now I'm in front of a computer every day because we all are. So but now I achieved my goal. But yeah, started out just breaking into games, having fun. And it's just been a thing that I've been a part of ever since.
That's a great story, and I'm sure your mom probably thought you were ahead of your time and was pleased that you were taking such an interest in that. But what a way to kind of come full circle too, between being behind the computer to in front of, and now kind of behind. As you said, I mean. You can certainly help a number of people, and I know you help a number of businesses with their cybersecurity and things like that. So, yeah. So let's start simple. When people hear AI and cybersecurity, they either feel overwhelmed or maybe a little frightened by it. How would you explain what's happening right now in just simple terms?
Yeah. So I guess we'll start with AI. AI is not as complex as you think it is, while at the same time, it just does stuff really, really fast. A lot of people that understand computer programming probably remember from school this if-then statements. If this happens, then do this. AI is really just a really fast version of that at light speed. So it's doing millions of those if-then statements all at once to eventually answer your question. So can it reason? Can it really understand human comprehension? No. But it can process through lots and lots of things that's been taught to get you the answer or run through different scenarios faster than any human it really ever could. So it has its benefit. And we're at what I call the AI kind of hype cycle. We're at the top of that hype cycle. Eventually, a lot of this is going to realize it's going to crash, and then we're going to get some usefulness out of it, and that's going to be what sustains us for the next however long we wind up doing this. Every type of technology has had that. This is the next great thing, best thing since sliced bread. No, not really, it's not, but here's what we can get out of it. And we're at that standpoint right now of there's all these things that we think AI can do, but what can it do well? What can it do better than people, and how can we make it useful for us? So if you feel you're behind, you're not really. We're all figuring this whole thing out. It's just people have found some use cases and are full steam ahead with that. And personally, as well as businesses, they can do the same. We just have to uncover what that thing is that it can do really well. With cybersecurity, that is a whole nother avenue. I mean, there have been bad people since the dawn of time. Since Cain and Abel. Cain killed his brother. So cybersecurity is just a way of trying to prevent some of those things happening. We're just at a stage right now where we still have to do a lot of that work, and then the software or the tools or whatever do the rest of it behind the scenes. Luckily, we are getting to a point where passwords will hopefully go away. I would estimate probably in the next 5 years. It's going to become more bio-centric. We already have FaceTime. They can know us eyes, all that. We're going to get more and more to that. But right now, there are things the average person can do to make it harder for people to take your info, because some people think, well, I don't do anything. I don't have anything. You got more than you think. And until your identity gets stolen, that is a complete pain. I know several people that have had to go through it, and the simple things that we're going to talk about here soon, you can do in an afternoon. You can do on a Saturday once, and really that's it for quite some time, and you're golden. So it's not everything, but it's a lot more than most people typically work through.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that, because I think people do the heavy sigh, like, oh my God, I'm going to have to spend a whole day doing all these things. And, I'm a deer in the headlight with technology, and how am I going to figure this out? So I'm glad you've said it can be done in an afternoon, some of these steps. And I wanted to tell you, I'd been in the banking business for several years, and half my career was on the retail banking center side, and I was in 3 bank robberies in Indianapolis, 2 downtown across from the city county building and city market, 2 weeks apart, and then one 8 years later. And you don't hear as much about bank robberies because people are doing cyber theft. Unlike theft, it's a lot faster, easy. It's easier, probably bigger money.
Yeah, it really kind of goes back to, I'm sure you've probably seen the movie Office Space, which was from 98, 99. And they talk about taking fractions of a penny, from every account and slowly stealing from the company. And they mentioned, hey, that was done in Superman 3, which was 20 years before that. There have always been ways of doing this. It's easier and harder. And some people, bank robberies, they go back to the simple thing, because cybersecurity it's pretty complex, but it's also easy to hit lots and lots of people, lots and lots of companies much faster than, driving in the getaway car from bank to bank to bank and getting caught like in the old days. But
Or in the case of the last robbery, the person wore multiple layers of clothing and was stripping as he was running down the street.
Yeah, and then they forget, my DNA is on all this. We can eventually figure that out. I mean, there's always a loophole.
And your fingerprints are on several things after coming in 3 times.
Oh, yeah. My favorite bank robbery story, I'm trying to remember where it actually was, but somebody actually robbed the bank. It took like $20,000, $30,000, something crazy like that. Then literally went to the ATM right outside that bank and tried to deposit it in their own account.
Oh my gosh.
They're like, really? Just run until you can't run anymore, but you try to deposit it in the same bank.
That's not a very smart criminal.
No, I mean, and a lot of them aren't.
No,
Even
you're
though
right.
they have the IT skills, a lot of this can be traced.
Yeah.
Even when we've had companies get ransomware and they say, we want, 100 Bitcoin because you can't trace it. You can. It just takes a while. But 6-7 years ago, no, you couldn't. We're getting better and better with all those type of things. But yeah, a lot of what we're cover here is what the average person can do in their home to protect themselves, or at least get better and not be as much of a target.
Well, another thing, if you have a small business, and I've had now too, one of the items they always offered was cyber insurance, cyber protection insurance, which it was such a new concept. I said, what? So it's much more common now to be offered.
Yeah, I mean, and a big thing, just like most insurance, insurance companies don't want to actually pay anything, but they want you to have that insurance. Cyber insurance works the same way. There's all sorts of small print of here's what you need to do to protect yourself. And then if that all fails, then we'll cut you a check and take care of you from an insurance standpoint. And especially small businesses just saying, I have cyber insurance, I'm good. No, there's other things you need to do to protect your company. And hopefully you'll never need to actually make that claim. But that's part of what we do here at Braden is help them through that process and help maintain all that from an IT standpoint so you don't have to worry about it. But then at the same point, there's lots of things that you can do as, I say the average user, but the person that uses a computer to do work, but they don't understand IT. They don't want to understand IT. You got better things to do. But some of the things that we work through, I mentioned in one of my talks with this before, I tested it out on my youngest daughter, who is 20, and I tested it on my 82-year-old mom. And that if they can both do it, everybody in between can do this. So
That's right. Good. That's a good test market. I want to talk just a little bit more about AI before we switch to cybersecurity. How is AI making our lives easier right now?
So AI has been in a lot of people's lives for many, many years at this point. It's just been hidden, and we've just made it more of a thing in the last really couple of years. So if you think about, say Netflix, when you've watched a couple of movies and now it starts having suggestions of other things you might like, there aren't tons of people sitting there going, well, JP really liked this movie. Let's go find, no, that's all AI. Saying, hey, you like thrillers, or you like comedies, you like, dark comedies. Here's more dark comedies. We've categorized this, and the algorithm says, this is what you might like. Here's some options. And if you choose those and like them, it starts giving you more and more of that. That is all AI. That is all deep down what we call machine learning. But again, it's if-then statements. JP likes this. He likes this. He'll probably like this. Let's suggest it. If he chooses it and says he likes it, let's give him more. If he hates it, let's change the algorithm. It's those type of things. It is, even when you go to your, Instagram, you've clicked on these things. Here's more stuff you might like. My Facebook feed is now nothing but memes because that's what I click on.
Could be worse.
Yeah, it could be much, much worse. But yeah, I love just funny memes about just life in general. And it gives you more of that because it wants to keep you engaged. That is all what AI is trying to do. But even to the point of understanding, from a home standpoint, when you have your smart devices, a lot of it is like, hey, this person, leaves the house at 7:30 to go to their 8 o'clock, job. They get home at 5:30. I'm going to adjust the thermostat and have it automatically set, the thermostat for their comfort level 15 minutes before so we get there. That's AI. We've been doing that for years. It's just now to a point where the average person can do certain things themselves rather than buying that service from a corporation to do the same type of thing. So it's been a long time coming. It's just this is one of the few technologies that everybody has access to at such a massive amount that most people feel overwhelmed by it.
Sure. And I think there's a school of thought, too, that perhaps AI is going to replace people's ability to learn and to write if they're using like a chat GPT or Copilot to prepare something. And I think I don't know what to think about that, but I've heard that.
Yeah, there's some truth to it. So from a corporate standpoint, people think their AI is going to take their jobs. And for the most part, it's not that that's going to be the case. But somebody that understands AI will take your job if you don't embrace what it can do. From a personal standpoint, I see it kind of being a generational change. I'm over 50. I've had years of experience doing my job without AI. So my generation, Gen X, go us, we tend, some of us embrace it, some of us don't, going, well, I already know how to do this. I'm just going to keep doing my job. Some embrace it, but we do little things with it and gradually get there kind of slow because we already have the experience. If AI goes away tomorrow, we can still do our jobs. Then if you shift extreme to that Gen Alpha or actually Gen Z that's just coming out of college and they've been using AI for the last 4 or 5 years, they don't have the critical thinking skills. They don't have the experience to fall back on. They've been using AI the whole time. So they're the ones that don't necessarily know if AI is hallucinating. They don't know when AI is wrong. And some of that becomes truth to them because, well, AI has never failed me or no one's told me that it's been wrong. So they take it as gospel and they run from there. Now, long term, are they going to be okay? It depends. But I really feel that their learning experience in the workforce is a slower process because they're not learning from the fire hose. It's someone tells me to do something. I'm going to go ask AI how to do it, spit some output, and then make a few tweaks. Here we go. Where the older generation, I may ask AI, but going, that's not right. But I'll take this part, this part, this part, and then put my own thoughts into it and make a better version of what I would come up with. And then you have that generation, couple generations in the middle. They're falling one way or the other as far as how much or how little they're really going to use it. So long term, is it going to slow down critical thinking skills? Absolutely, it will, unless we get ahead of it. And it's going to take a few iterations of this and some unfortunate drastic failures before we realize, yeah, we should probably educate people more before we make AI a part of it. But we have different generational overlap in the workforce to a level that we've never experienced before, where the experience can be passed down so they can have that understanding. And once we get past that level of the hallucinating and everything else, I think long term we'll be okay.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot like when the advent of the internet and we were, and there was a learning curve there and there's a learning curve now. And, you can't do it if you don't start, kind of thing. If you don't know how to, you've got to try it.
Yeah, it's a lot like email was. I remember back when people would actually read their email, print it out, write the answer on the printout, and then fax it back to the customer because they didn't know what else to do. They think, I could just reply, but no, I'm used to faxing things, or I would just call the client. And it took a few years to get to a point where, let's stop printing, let's stop faxing and all of that, and let's just respond. But yet we still have printing and faxing and stuff today in certain industries. It hasn't fully gone away, so it took a while to adapt. We're at that same experience with AI, is we're doing all these random things to figure out what actually works, and what comes out of it in a few years is going to be our norm. So we're all in the infancy.
By industry too. The medical industry is using it more, and you're finding that they're going to find some good things about using it that will probably improve efficiency and diagnosing illnesses faster, things like, probably some imaging, things like that, I would imagine.
Medical trials for drugs are going much, much faster now with AI because you can run through millions of situations where before we literally had to test them on lab rats, other animals, get to the human trials, and then get to a point where it gets approved. They can speed through a lot of that now in a matter of days and skip years of those trials and get to the human trials faster because they can put out every possible scenario based on data we already know. So there's all sorts of benefits, but we're still figuring it out. And, that's at every level, which is fascinating, but also overwhelming at times.
Is there anything else you want to tell us about AI before we switch gears to cybersecurity?
What I tell most people is just play with it. most people that I know that are afraid of it have only said, okay, I want AI to help me with this email, and that's it. Why email is the one thing I don't know, but hey, help me write this more like a grown-up. I'm like, we're all grown-ups. It's fine, whatever you respond to. Which is funny because the higher level I've seen people, the more C-level, the quicker the emails are, the more blunt they are. It's not all this, hope your day is going well. By the way, pertaining your, nobody cares. But I tell people all the time, play with it. Ask it random questions. I mean, even things like, hey, here's some information about my spouse. Help me come up with an anniversary present. Here's all the things that I've bought her before or things that I've done, and I'm running out of ideas. We've been married for 30 years or whatever. It can come up with some really cool stuff that is pretty helpful. So, I mean, you can use it for different types of things. I mean, I've had it try to tell me jokes that have been horrendous because it doesn't get humor. And humor changes from state to state, from country to country, but you can train it. You can actually train it to get the results that you want. And I don't think everybody truly knows that. They just think it's like the encyclopedia coming at you. I'm like, no, you can make it do what you want. You just got to talk longer than a Google search. The average Google search is 7 words long. What you should do with AI should be a couple paragraphs when you prompt it for something. But most people make it 9 words long instead of 7. All they add is, can you, or please at the end, because they're always polite with AI, and but they're doing the same thing as a Google search. Get in depth with it. Say, hey, I am a salesperson with Braden on the IT side. I do managed services for small businesses. Here is my dilemma. I have a client, blah, 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 and write that all. It will give you what you want. If you just say, hey, I need to make a sale by Tuesday, give me a pitch. It's going to be terrible. It's very much garbage in, garbage out. So play with it, get used to it, talk to it, don't just prompt it. And you'll be amazed at some of the response that you can really get out of it. And the more you give it, the more you can get from it. So do that within reason. Don't tell it all your personal hopes and dreams.
Don't have a relationship with it like some people are.
There's always an extreme. But yes, don't fall in love with AI. It will not love you back. But yeah, I mean, embrace a little bit of it and just get over some of the fear of it because it can be helpful in many situations. And if it doesn't work for you, give it a month. It will completely change because it's still in its infancy. It's learning so much right now. It is like a baby. Babies learn so much in that first 3 years of existence, more than we do, say, from 40 to 50 years old, that's where we are. We're in that toddler phase of AI, and it is evolving so quickly. So embrace it now so it becomes more natural, as it does what it does.
Very, very good. And I don't feel quite so overwhelmed. I guess I've used it a little bit, but your tips were great, especially that, write a few paragraphs and don't just give them 7 sentences like you do with Google. So 7 words, I mean. Words. So let's shift gears, if you don't mind, to cybersecurity. I was watching another person's podcast, and they had a cybersecurity expert on, and I did not take copious notes, but I was certainly trying to get the gist of, of some things that I was not doing that I should be doing, and, cranking it up a notch in terms of my own security. And I'll preface this by saying that I've had my identity stolen twice. In both cases, it was 8 years apart, and it was when I was in banking center management. I don't know what the correlation is, but both were, one took 6 months to clean up and the other one took a month. But still, I ended up tightening my my credit, credit freezes. I like having that, especially at my age when I'm not buying as much as I was in my 20s and 30s. But I also, put a warning on there to please call me if anyone is trying to, do open credit. I did this years ago, but it was a painful lesson, and I felt like a criminal myself having to fill out all these affidavits and all that. But you know what? It's been a really good lesson and really being a lot more protective of our, you know, identity. So are emails probably one of the biggest risks, or what are you seeing are some of the biggest risks for individuals?
Oh, yes. Email tends to be the easiest way to get somebody's info. And one of those ways is if you see an email that you don't typically recognize that has a sense of urgency, that's usually a reason to be a little bit skeptical. Even if it's from a source, kind of going back, if it's from your bank or if it's from whoever and says, hey, you need to address this now, here's a link. That usually they want you to feel like, oh, I'm anxious. I should click now and take care of this because they don't want you to think through all the steps that you should probably be doing to go, is this even real? So when it comes to that from an email standpoint, if it's anything that you should click now and go to, big ones tend to be your banking info. I get them all the time from banks I don't even have an account with, which is hilarious. But some of the hackers out there are pretty good. They know which bank you bank with. So if you're with ABC Bank of America or whatever, and it says, hey, click here because there was an issue. Don't click there, but actually go to their website. Go and actually type in the name of the website, whether it, whatever the banks that there are out there, and then log into your account and see what the problem is. Because typically when they log into your account, there's a message there as well. You don't want to click on the link because it'll still look like your banking info, and now they have that info and they can do what they want. So I tell people all the time, unless you know exactly who it came from and it's something that you regularly get, don't click on a link in an email. Just go to the website separately, log in, and do what you need to do. It's one extra step, and it can save your data many times over. But email is one of the biggest. I mean, text messaging goes with that as well, but most banks won't text you to address something. They'll send you an email, and then you go and do what you've got to do. But yeah, from the email standpoint, definitely clean that up. I tell people all the time, Google actually has a great tool on what we call phishing. That's phishing with a PH. And it's a trainer. It's absolutely free. It gives you 10 questions to say, is this real? Is this not? If you miss it, it tells you what you should have looked for. And you can do it over and over again. It's absolutely free. Some of the other companies out there do it. I happen to like Google's because most people have a Gmail account, so it makes it pretty easy. But that gives you a good idea of where is my literacy and understanding what I can find and what I can't find. Another big one on the email standpoint is Amazon. You will see stuff all the time where it says, hey, your Amazon package just shipped. Click here to get your tracking info and see where it is in the process. Well, Amazon legitimately sends those notices out, but you can shut those off, which that's what I do. Because I'm like, I can always go to my app on my phone and see where my packages are. I don't need a separate email telling me. And now when I see that in my email, I just ignore it, or I click on the spam button and away it goes, because I don't need those multiple, steps. Most people have the Amazon app on their phone that gives them the notifications, and those are usually legit. But the emails that come through, especially from a work standpoint, I love it when from work they say, hey, your Amazon package shipped. And I'm like, I don't order anything from the work account. But you don't think in that way because everybody's ordering from Amazon. So you click and next thing you know, you're infected. Another thing to do from email is if you do find an email that is not legitimate, it is actually something malicious, don't try to unsubscribe from it. Just click the spam button. Sometimes they will send you emails that look extremely fake and to make you think, oh, I'm super smart. I know what I can easily tell this is not legitimate. And but you click on the unsubscribe, and all that's doing is telling them, yep, an actual human clicked this. We know this email is real, and now they're going to sell your email to other people, and then you're going to get more emails like that. So click spam and let your provider take care of it, whether you're using Gmail or any of the other services. They will then take care of it on their end. Eventually, that will wind up going away. So that's an interesting little tip, and it's very simple. Don't click on unsubscribe. Click the spam button. Email goes away, and now your provider knows that's something that should not show up in your inbox.
Well, where's the spam button? Pardon my ignorance.
So that varies. Typically, it's just on the top row. So if you're using, Microsoft, whether you're in 365 or you're in Hotmail, It's typically I think it's on the upper left. Next after send, file, all of that, there would be a button there for clicking something for spam. If you're old school like me, you still have a Yahoo account, which I use for all my junk email. There is a little icon there for spam in the email itself, as well as on the upper bar. And then Gmail has that readily available as well. So yeah, it just depends on what platform you have, but you can find the spam button usually pretty easy, but always click that. Don't bother with the unsubscribe.
Yeah, certainly. What about our phones and text messages? There's a few that are out there right now. The BMV is sending out text. They're not sending them out, but the BMV they're using the BMV as an example that they have to pay something. Let's see. I had something from Spectrum. That's another one. Gift cards.
Yeah, so the big thing with that, gift cards aren't traceable. It's like a Bitcoin in your hand. So yeah, pretty much anything that's going to ask you for gift cards is, my personal opinion, way over 95% of the time, it's fraudulent. People can get their own gift cards. They don't need you to get them a gift card. So if they're asking for a payment in gift cards, it is probably malicious. From as far as your phone standpoint, if you get a text that says, hey, you need to pay your water bill, or you need to pay this toll for, a toll road that you may not even gone on. I have a daughter out of state, so we go across a toll road all the time, but I have an app for that. I'm not getting text messages from them, but with that, don't just delete it. Delete and block the number is extremely helpful. Some of the carriers, I know T-Mobile does it, and I believe Verizon does as well. I do not know about AT&T. You can actually report those numbers as well, and they will add that to their pool so that other users also don't get that. Now, the hackers are smart. They have multiple numbers that they will try to send from, but eventually the carriers start to understand this and will filter that themselves as well. There are some apps out there that will help you filter, but typically, especially from an iPhone standpoint, there are built-in features that you can go into to help block those. But the more you block, the more it starts to understand the types of messages you're getting and will automatically block them yourself so you never even get them. A nice one as well, if you get lots of voicemails of people telling you, call now, you owe this money, or call this because your account was breached, all of that. The latest version of the iPhone update, and I know Android did it like 2 years ago, because they always do. Any number that comes through that you don't already have in your phone or you don't recognize will automatically get pushed to voicemail, and we'll just ask, who is calling? What is the reason for calling? And then we'll send it to voicemail, and if it's an automated message, it just deletes it automatically. You can actually have it do that, so you never even know that they're calling. So there are steps you can take within there. You can Google those, depending if you have iPhone or Android. But there are easy settings that you can set up to where unknown callers, the phone doesn't even ring. Just look at the voicemail, and you can then read the voicemail and see if it's something legit, or you can have it just ignore that entirely. Just depending on how much you get. I mean, I'm in sales, so unknown numbers I get all the time, so I have to let them come through. But I still have that layer of, let me know who you are, what you want. And I can always call them back. And most people are cool with that.
So what about recording your message without using your name? Someone said on this podcast I was watching that you should record your message without using your name.
That does come in handy. It's not as prevalent, at least not with the people that I've talked to about that, because a lot of times, it's like if your name is, I go by JP, my full name is James, like the author James Patterson. That's why it's super annoying, and I go by JP.
Could be worse.
Right? Oh yeah, could be much, much worse. I mean, my last name's not Donners or something like that, so we're good. But yeah, if it's, if your name's like James, but you go by Jim or Jimmy or JP or whatever, and you say, hey, this is JP, they're going to start calling you and asking for JP, and you think, oh, this is somebody that knows me. So yeah, always just respond with your message should be, you've reached whatever your number is, please leave a message. And that's nice and easy. Most people are going to know if they know who you are, they probably already know your voice. They're going to leave a message. If they don't leave a message, it probably wasn't important anyway, or they'll find another way to get a hold of you if it's something that's really legit. Most of the automated systems once it hits voicemail, they don't even leave a message. So they're gone. So that takes care of a big chunk right there. But I know for me, since I go by JP, if they call and ask for James, I know it's not real. No one calls me James. That's my grandfather. So I love the fact that most things online show my full name, because if somebody calls me for that, it's usually not real. I can ignore it and take the steps to eventually make sure that they don't call me again.
Let's talk about passwords now. Password strength. Should people be using password managers? Two-factor authentication as well. Those are some areas I want to talk about.
All of it. All of it, yes. So there are great password managers out there. There's a lot that are paid, which are great. Then there's plenty that are free as well. For most people, I'll say most adults, there are plenty of free ones out there. Apple has their passwords. Google has the Google Password Manager, to where if you're a Chrome user or use that from your phone, either one of those works absolutely great. The nice thing about it I like is it does use your face as far as that third factor, so the multi-factor authentication. And it also, if you really want it to, when you log into someplace new, it'll create a password for you and then just save it. So you show your face, the password gets put in itself. And the best password is one even you don't know. I love that Google gives me gibberish, really long amounts of gibberish as a passcode, because that's hard to get. Most people typically do the thing where it's a pet's name or their child's name. Like, oh, that's not long enough. Great, it's the pet's name and the year I was born. Oh, you need a special character. Pet's name, year I was born, exclamation point. Why exclamation point? I don't know, but everybody loves to use exclamation point. If not that one, then it's $sign. So if that's one of you out there, we're already on to you. So when I tell people, make sure it is as long as a password as you can take if you're not using a password manager. Password managers by default do at least 12 characters, or they try to max out whatever the limit can be. The longer the better, because it's harder to get through. But if you're going to use the numbers and characters, try using them in the front. Use them in the middle. Make a mix. If your favorite number is 1, 2, 3, 4, which so many people use that in their passwords, at least do 1, 2, pet's name, 3, 4 at the end. Don't put it all on one end or the other. That does make it harder to figure out. But try to get tricky with what you're doing. I tell a lot of people, use a passphrase. Something like, my best friend is Bob. That's a great password to use. And then every word of that can be capitalized. And then every time you have like a letter like Bob, the O can be a 0. That way you get the number in there. But now it's a phrase you can understand. My best friend is Bob. That's great, but you're just switching between capital, lowercase letters, and all the numbers. But a passphrase is a much easier than just one word and the numbers at the end and that exclamation point. We all were collectively lazy, as we all could be in the early 2000s when passwords were really kicking in, and most people did not change those. But I say password manager all day. Most applications that require some sort of payment, whether it's your banking, your Netflix account, your water bill, whatever, most of them have an option for multi-factor authentication. Turn it on. Just your face scan on an iPhone. That usually is that third factor, which is absolutely fine. Or it's a fingerprint for one of the older ones, or it's your passcode. You're already doing that for just opening up your phone. It's one extra thing. You're already staring at your phone. That does help, because if somebody has your password, they probably don't also have your phone and that scan. So that's why we want to turn that on whenever possible. But I love password managers. They are absolutely fantastic because they do most of the dirty work for you. I love the fact that, I've got easily 100, 150 applications, either on my phone or on my computer, accounts that I haven't even used for a few years. But Google Password Manager remembers those passwords. I have no idea what most of them are, and that's great because that means I'm not writing them down. It's not the same password for everything, and I'm not going to inadvertently tell somebody what that password is. Second part of that, I know it's absolutely crazy, but when you see those social media things of, hey, take this fun quiz, what kind of potato are you? Most of that is designed solely to find out what your security questions are so that they can retrieve your password from the service you're trying to get logged into. So they'll ask you fun things like, what's your favorite food? What kind of car do you drive? What was your first car? And then in the middle, there's someone will ask, what is your first pet's name? Or what school did you go to? Those are your security questions. But 4 or 5 questions in, you're thinking, oh, this isn't that thing. This is kind of fun. And then one of those things will come out. Ignore those. Nobody cares what kind of potato you are. If you want your friends to know about you, invite them over. Actually get some face-to-face time, have a few drinks, and just get to know people. No one cares on social media what you are in a different world. They just don't. So get over yourself, and if you want to really get people to know you, invite them over. Pick up the phone and call, but don't do the online quizzes. Those are usually scams to get to know your security info.
Yeah, I really have a little homework to do on this password manager stuff. But I do have for one of them I have authenticity or Google Authenticator. Right. Thank you.
Those are great tools. Google and Microsoft make some of the best ones for that. Most people, you can get those are both free. So yeah, if you log into, say, your Netflix account, it'll then pop up and say, give us the code in your Google Authenticator. You go to your phone, you open up the app, and it gives you a 6-digit number. You pop that in, you're in. That is fantastic because most people think, why would somebody want to get my Netflix account? There's nothing there. Well, think about how you pay for that Netflix account. There's a credit card attached to it. And nobody thinks about their Netflix password. They usually make it easy because their spouse is also logged in. Their kids who are away or graduated or whatever are also using that account. So they make it something really easy so that everybody can remember. That's why that is usually a target. So in that situation, yeah, use an authenticator. I have 2 kids in college right now, and they hit me up all the time when that has to renew. They're like, hey, what's the password? I call them. I tell them what the password is. Then they say, what's the code? I'm like, all right, here you go, because I still have that control to make sure that's getting set. If their grades go down, I just don't answer the phone. So no Netflix for you this semester. So yay, parental control in those situations. I get another year for one of them, so that's awesome. But yeah, those tools are there to help you, and they are really easy. It's one extra layer. They're super simple, and it really does relieve a lot of what you have to know, because now you're not writing down those passwords. You're not writing all these things down or thinking, I'm going to use the same password for everything. Well, that's what people hope happens. You're the first target, because once they figure out your Netflix password, they're going to try everything else you could possibly be logged into and try that password again. And now they're in your bank. They're in your kid's school system, whatever. And they want to get into those because they know that you're going to use the same password for everything. So they're going to get more information and then, ruin your credit, ruin your identity, and all sorts of unfortunate things.
So someone mentioned something about a safe word, that a family should have a safe word in case they're holding a relative potentially for ransom.
Yes.
So could you speak to that?
Yeah. Oddly enough, our family does have one, and my 82-year-old mother came up with that because she saw that information on the news. She goes, we need to have a safe word. Like, what are you talking about? I know when you call. She goes, yeah, but the kids don't. I'm like, well, how often do you call? We went down the whole path. So yeah, we wound up coming up with a safe word, something that would make it easier for her to know because, she is a little older. And then the kids know whenever they receive a call from her, they know to verify it's her or my father-in-law, same situation. As far as, if they ever ask for money, given my 82-year-old grandmother asked my 20-year-old daughter for money, she already knows there's a problem. But at the same point, if my grandmother gets a call from my youngest and says, hey, I need money for X, they know that there's a safe word they can have a conversation on, or at least some steps to validate that this is something that's absolutely real. And that's something you definitely want to have without a doubt, and something that only the family knows or your trusted people understand. And that's something that's really simple. And you can put that in your phone. That's perfectly fine, but obviously don't list a family safe word. Make it put it in your notes as something that's really, really easy to remember. But obviously don't make that same word or phrase part of your passcode. And that does help out quite a bit. I'd say that's an extra layer for the super paranoid, not something that always needs to happen because that doesn't come up nearly as much. But better safe than sorry in those type of situations.
Okay, super. Smart devices, you touched on those briefly, but can you say, are they more vulnerable than other devices?
So there are different ways depending on how you set that up. Lot of people don't know, but you can set up what you call a guest network. So you have your main network at home, which, side note, everybody at home, go to your router, which is basically where your internet comes in. There's a box that's there with lots of antennas and stuff on it. Flip it over, it gives you what's called your IP address. That's like the home address of your network. Use that number to log in and then change the administrative password. So many routers out there, it's default admin and password because they expect you to change the password, and then everybody's lazy and doesn't do it. So change that, number one. And then for all your smart devices, put those on a separate network or put those on a guest network that is locked down. That way, if it gets hacked, they don't get to all your personal info. If you've got a smart TV and it gets hacked and suddenly you can't log into your favorite apps or anything anymore, you can always reset the TV. But that's not usually what hackers are going after. They use that to get into your other info or get to your laptop when you log in, get your banking info, and then do what they got to do. It's just a backdoor way of getting in. So it's kind of like if you get a security system for your home, but you don't put sensors on your windows, just the doors. Well, I'm going to go through the window to get in your house. I'm not going to use the doors. That's smart devices are that window into your personal info.
So I don't understand this guest network. If I have a router with an account, am I getting a separate account?
Right. So what that means for the people, of course, that live in your home, you have your regular Wi-Fi, get on the internet, do whatever you got to do. For people that come to your home and just want access to the internet so they can play Wordle while they're waiting or they're bored or whatever else, they don't need that same type of access. They just need a throughput to get to the internet and not use their cellular signal. So you can set up a guest network and your routers have a walkthrough on how to do it, or you can type in the brand name of that router when you flip it over and say, how do I set up a guest network? And that takes maybe 30 seconds. But for that, it creates them a path to get to the internet without touching your actual personal home network. So they don't see any of the other devices. They can't mess with anything whatsoever. They can't turn your lights on and off. They can't work your smart toaster, which is why people have smart toasters. That's a whole other episode. That's the dumbest thing ever. But they can still do what they need to do and not interfere with your network. So when people come over and want to get that password, it's a completely separate password. It doesn't touch the rest of your network, and it's a safety net. That way, if they're not doing those safe things and they're vulnerable to identity theft, they're not infecting the rest of your network because they're on a completely separate network that you don't care what happens.
Well, and as someone who has hosted people from out of town, I have a little card with the password, the Wi-Fi password for them. So I just need to go in and set up guest networks.
Right. And at that point, they can't control your TV. They can't control your smart fridge or any other smart devices you have. They can just get to the internet, what they need to do, but they can't mess with the rest of your network.
Sure. Wow. Didn't even think about that one. That seems obvious.
And that one, when you're changing your router password, it's literally probably 30 seconds amount of time it takes to do that. That's all super, super easy to do.
Sure. Sure. What else am I missing? What other things are you seeing?
Other stuff, from a non-technical standpoint, I still tell people, get a shredder. Every time you get a bill in the mail, most people, they get their bill, they pay online for what that bill is, and then they just throw that bill away. Shred it. Hackers still go through trash. They still want to know what your account number is because that's one more step to getting your security info or your security questions, and then they'll get your username and password. So just shred the documents. Shredders are as cheap as $20. And then for those type of things, don't overshare on social media. You mentioned before, as far as, bank robberies still happen where people physically go into a bank and steal stuff. People still break into houses. What houses do they break into? Ones that don't have adequate lighting outside. And when they know on social media that you're in Cancun for the week and you're there for the next 10 days because you posted when you landed, I know I have 10 days now to break into your house and there's nothing you can do about it. So wait till you get home, then post all your pictures. The same amount of people are going to give you your likes. You'll still get your dopamine hit. But you can wait. Go enjoy your vacation and then post all that stuff later. And a big one on that, freeze your credit now. If you have any kids under 18, most importantly, freeze their credit. You will see all the time in the news, if you actually read the news or if you just do a quick Google search, I mean, literally Google your town, school hack. Stuff will come up. Hackers love going after schools because your children have social security numbers. They have no credit because they're 10 years old and aren't old enough for that credit yet. So they're ripe for being able to have somebody take and create a whole credit history for them that they're not going to notice until they're somewhere between 16 and 18 years old and they get their first credit card. So day one, lock your child's credit history and then help them unlock it when they're old enough to actually get a credit card. Because otherwise you're not going to know for years that they've even been compromised, because what parent goes and checks their 12-year-old's credit card history or their credit history? They don't, because they don't have one. Well, they might. They just won't know for another 4 to 6 years. So I tell people do that all the time. It's super easy to do. For each of the big three, it probably takes about 10 minutes. Just go to their website. Type in the search bar, freeze my credit. You walk through the steps, boom, you're done. And then if you're ever going to get a car, you get a house, you can unfreeze your credit, and it takes another 10 minutes to unfreeze it, validate, do what you got to do, and then freeze it back. But I tell them that if you don't do your own, freeze your children's credit, because you don't want them starting off, their adulthood with trying to get their identity back that they didn't know about, that was already ruined years before.
Right. Well, and, hate to say this, but there's a lot of Social Security fraud too, of people who are dead, and then people are still getting paid.
So we unfortunately had that situation. Had a colleague whose grandparent had an issue of Social Security fraud, and they had been dead since 2001, I believe. They're like, but they have their info, they have their Social Security number, they have all this stuff, and now they're reaping these benefits. I'm like, just get a copy of their death certificate. That is your defense to everything, because it's public record. And then whenever somebody says, hey, you owe this money, you're next of kin or whatever else, you show them the death certificate and says, yep, somebody else is using it. Don't know what to tell you. Don't need to go through all these steps for past relatives. No one's going to come after them because they can't. They physically cannot. But unfortunately, there is a lot of fraud happening in that realm. But the death certificate is your get out of jail free card, really, what it comes down to. We've already covered a lot of stuff that you do to protect yourself, protect your kids. For loved ones that have already gone, all you need is that one thing, and that takes you off the hook. There's unfortunately so many terrible people out there doing those things, but that gets you through a lot of the headache that you'd have to deal with to try to offset things that are happening.
Yeah, boy, that's a shame. That's just horrible.
It really, really is. It's ingenious at the same time, but you're like, oh yeah, that's something nobody's. I mean, I'm not going to take my grandmother's.
Why didn't I think of that? No.
I wouldn't know where to start to protect my grandmother's credit history, but she's been gone, unfortunately, for many years now. But if that were to come up, all I've got to do is prove when she passed, and that's on you. But now you're not liable if you're next to kin or something in the will, made you, the executor or whatever. There are many steps you can take there, but that's a simple piece of paper you can get and have on you to prove that, that was fraudulent and you're done.
Yeah. JP, you have provided a number of helpful, easy, interesting steps and tips for our listeners and viewers today. So my question is, what is your SOS? What's a simple step or two you can offer to our listeners and viewers that can make a difference in their lives with regard to either cybersecurity or AI?
I'll kind of double up on that. What I would tell most people is embrace your inner narcissist and learn everything you can about what you are online. And what I mean by that is there are so many ways, obviously we've talked about already from a cybersecurity standpoint, of how to lock down your credit, how to protect your home, how to protect your credit history, all that kind of fun stuff. But learn what is out there about you, good and bad, because that's what other people are using to get to you. So with that, as a good example, go to your favorite AI bot, whether it's ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity, any of those, and say, here's my name, here's where I live. Tell me everything you can possibly find about me out there and just list it. One, grab a drink because it will scare you. The amount of information that it's going to find is insane. And you'll want to have a drink after that. Like, oh my God, I had no idea this information was out there. But it gives you a good baseline of saying, hey, I need to clear some of this stuff up. Or like, this isn't true, or this is a different JP, or this is, something I need to basically take care of, or I don't want that information out there. But now you've got a baseline of what you can start with, and you can slowly get rid of that. All the major search engines, so Google, Chrome, Bing, all of those out there, they have a right of removal that, luckily, thanks to our friends in the UK, they made a standard, and so now it's a standard here. If you find information out there that is fraudulent, you find information out there that is attached to you, but it's a different person with your name, but it's got your face with it or whatever, you can actually go to, say, Google and say, this information needs to be taken down. I'm verifying it's me. This is not true. I need that taken down. And then they'll ask a few questions and validate that it's actually you. And they'll go through the process within like 30 days and actually manually have that taken down. So you can actually slowly start to remove a lot of you from the internet. But most people don't know how to do that or what's even out there. I mean, people Google their own name, but they don't really do a full search. AI is a great tool to learn. And just say, hey, I just learned about cybersecurity. I learned about ways to protect myself. I need to know more about me. Here's my name. Here's where I live. You can tell the AI, you can ask me 3 to 5 questions to get to know me a little bit better, and then tell me everything you find on the internet about me. That's key. Tell it you can ask me 3 to 5 questions. Don't say ask any question because it'll just ask forever, and that's annoying. But 3 to 5 is a good number. And it'll come back with a ton of info with the links and everything of where it found that info. And you can go through those and one by one wipe those out. That step alone takes almost more time than everything else we just talked about. The rest of these things you could probably do in 3 hours. Pretty quick. That you'll drink longer than it'll take to go through all of that because it's a crazy amount of info. But that shuts down a lot of people's love of wanting to be liked and all the social media things and everything that's out there. It's like, oh, I had no idea all of that was out there. I thought I locked down my Facebook. No, you probably didn't. Social media tracks you on everything you do, whether you have an account or not. The minute you log in once, they have access to everything you're doing all the time, unless you take the steps to remove yourself from that. And AI is a good way to basically learn what's actually out there.
Well, let me ask you a follow-up question to that. If you've been married and you have a maiden name and a married name, what do you type in both names? Do you give both names? Yeah. And
that does help a lot. You'll want to do that. You'll type your full name. That may be one of the questions that AI asks you. Do you have any maiden names or other names or aliases? But that's why we always say, type a couple paragraphs of what you want and be just specific about that, as opposed to just, here's my name, find me. That's not going to find you much. But here's where I live. Here's what my maiden name is. Here's what people call me. Jim, James, JP, whatever. And then it will run through and find all this stuff. Now, luckily, if you have a generic name like I do, there'll be a lot of stuff out there that is not you, and you're golden. But filtering through the things that actually are you, that you don't necessarily want out there, now you've got the links, you have the info, you can now dig deeper and go, where did you find that? This particular thing here, where did you find that? How do I remove that from the internet? And it will walk you through those steps that now you can follow. So AI is a great tool in that respect. And now it gets you comfortable with AI while you're also securing your persona and your identity out there.
That's a perfect tip. I mean, I know it sounds daunting, but I think we'll all be pretty shocked by what we find. If
you're one of the few lucky ones that finds nothing, good for you. But
Yeah.
if that's also you, you probably don't care about AI.
Yeah, right. And you might not be listening to this podcast either.
Exactly. Yeah. For the people out there that are listening, chances are you're going to find out a lot more information than you thought is actually out there in the world. So that's a good way
JP,
to learn more about yourself.
is there anything else that we didn't talk about that you'd like to share?
I think we got a good amount of stuff that we've covered at this point. I made a list over here that kind of runs through that, but I think we did actually cover everything. So again, yeah, make sure you secure your home from your router. Get some sort of password manager. Make sure that that is taken care of because, again, the best password is one that even you don't know. And then lock down your credit and your family's credit. Make sure that is actually done because if somebody does get your info, the first thing they're going to do is try to figure out a way to make money from it. And that usually involves opening up new credit or, to do something. And if they can't get access, they're going to move on to the next one. They're as smart as they are, they're also super lazy. So if they can't get it from you quickly, they're going to find the next person that they can get it from. They're not going to dig too deep on you.
So if people with businesses want to find you, how can they reach out to you?
So yeah, best way to find us, I'm with Braden Business Systems. That's Braden. I am on LinkedIn, obviously. You can go through our website, which is bradenbusinesssystems.com, or I think bradenit.also.com. And you can get a hold of me through JP Patterson at Braden IT. Perfectly happy to walk through what you're doing as your business. We work all over the country. Happy to walk you through the process of what we do as your IT team with managed services. And if we cannot help you, we will get you in front of a company that can, or at least we'll tell you the steps you need to do to be better than where you are now. So happy to talk with your fans about everything that they need to do from that business standpoint.
Oh, that sounds great. Anything to finish this? Anything you're working on that you want to share with everyone?
Yeah, for the business owners out there, really get into the AI side of things. You'd be amazed at what it can do to help grow your business. We've got so many use cases of things that are done. Everything from, we're using these 9 different platforms and we have to enter the data in every single time because they don't talk. AI can take care of that. Or we're filling out 10 RFPs a month and we're only winning one of those and we'd love to win more. Well, AI can tell you what you're doing wrong and what you're doing right and help you with the next ones and help you run through that process of do more of the stuff that's winning. That seems obvious, but here are the nuances that it finds to help with that and create a template to make it easier to win more of those. There are so many things out there that it can do. But again, going back to most people look at AI as an extension of Google and just put in a couple sentences. We got to get deep with it. And that's what we do also from that standpoint. How do we help you grow using the technology that you have and that's available to you? And one of those is embracing what are those use cases for AI that make sense to help drive your business. So happy to talk with anybody about that. Every company is different. Every opportunity is different. So it's a case-by-case situation, but that's fun. These smart people behind me, that's what they live for, is figuring out what those things are. So I will get them involved. We'll have a good time.
That sounds great. Well, you have been a fun, informative guest. I'm not nearly as anxious as I thought I would be after talking to you. I'm actually humored, but I also know that I have some work to do, and I hope other people come away knowing that they have some things to do to tighten up their security as well. And so I want to thank you so much for being on SOS for Your Life, Emergency Wisdom for Everyday Life. It's been a real pleasure, JP, and I hope our paths cross again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Susie. I appreciate it.
Well, friends, sadly, that's all the time we have today. Thank you for listening or watching SOS for Your Life, Emergency Wisdom for Everyday Life. And thank you, JP, for joining me today. It was a very enjoyable, fun, and informative conversation about cybersecurity and AI. And there is a number of things out there to scare us, but this was not a topic to be scared of. In fact, you can take several of these little tips incorporate them and know you can feel much safer with what you have out there in the world. So, thank you so much again for listening or watching this podcast. And this podcast is all about all the things that contribute to our health, not just diet and exercise. Hopefully you'll walk away with more tools in your toolbox and more resources to make the changes that you want. If you're enjoying this podcast and think others should be watching or listening, please share it. Until next time, take care, and I hope our paths cross again soon.